The nurse adjusted the IV line and offered a sympathetic smile. "They'll be back next week," she said softly. "Your family went on a trip." A trip. The word hit harder than anything else in that hospital room. I was lying in intensive care, hooked up to monitors, struggling to breathe through oxygen tubing that left my throat raw. My phone sat untouched on the tray beside me. 3 days. No messages. No calls. No one asking if I was okay. My name is Natalie, and while doctors debated whether my lungs would fully recover, my family was busy posting vacation photos. Smiling faces, ocean views, fancy drinks, captions about finally taking time to unwind. I stared up at the ceiling and felt something inside me shut off. The truth was, this wasn't new. For years, I had been the person everyone depended on. I paid the bills, I handled repairs, I cooked meals, I solved emergencies, I carried the weight nobody else wanted. And when my body finally gave out, they left town. On my 4th night in the ICU, a nurse pulled a chair beside my bed. "You shouldn't have to go through this alone," she whispered. I almost smiled, because in that moment, I wasn't alone. I had something better. I had perspective. 2 weeks later, I signed my discharge paperwork without a single relative beside me. Nobody came to drive me home. I called a taxi. The ride felt longer than usual. When I walked into the house I'd spent years supporting, it felt unfamiliar. Like I was visiting someone else's life. That night, I made a decision. And by the time my family returned from their getaway, there would be nothing waiting for them. The silence inside the house was overwhelming. No television, no conversations, just the hum of appliances and the sound of my own uneven breathing. I opened my laptop and began reviewing documents. Mortgage records, insurance paperwork, property filings, everything. Every single thing was legally under my name. My family loved calling me the dependable one, the responsible one, the safety net. What they never realized was that responsibility leaves a paper trail. The next morning, I contacted a realtor. "I need a quick sale," I told her. "Fully furnished. As is." There was a pause. "Does your family know about this?" I looked out the window. They're out of reach at the moment. While they enjoyed beach resorts and sunset dinners, strangers toured the home. People admired the floors I'd refinished, the kitchen I'd maintained, the property I'd spent years preserving. Between medical appointments and recovery sessions, I signed document after document. And with every signature, I felt lighter. I didn't inform anyone, not my brother, who had borrowed money using my generosity. Not my mother, who treated the place like a permanent vacation rental. Not my aunt, who always insisted I'd never leave because I was too loyal. Then the offer arrived, full asking price, no conditions, no delays. I accepted immediately. The money transferred into a brand new account. And then I booked a one-way flight. Not across the world, just far enough away. When their plane finally landed, I was already gone. I learned about their arrival from my former neighbor, Mrs. Delaney. She called me that Sunday. "They're back," she whispered. "6 suitcases. And your mother is arguing with the driver." I thanked her and ended the call. Standing beside the ocean in Key West, I watched the waves roll in. My body was still healing. But my mind had never felt stronger. The first phone call arrived 2 hours later. "Natalie, why won't the keys work?" I ignored it. Then my brother called, furious. "What did you do? The house is empty. The realtor says it was sold." I ignored that one too. Soon after, an attorney contacted me. My family was threatening legal action. They claimed ownership rights. I forwarded one email. Attached was a notarized copy of paperwork they had willingly signed years earlier. The property belonged solely to me. Always had. I hadn't deceived anyone. I had simply allowed them to forget. Now they were discovering the consequences. Meanwhile, I ordered dinner and enjoyed the evening. For the first time in years, Their chaos wasn't my problem. The following day, they located an old rental listing connected to the property. By then, it was completely vacant. Furniture sold, rooms empty. But that didn't stop them from filming dramatic videos in the driveway. My mother cried for the camera. My brother paced in circles. My aunt claimed I was unstable. Relatives flooded social media with accusations. One cousin even publicly labeled me a traitor. I didn't respond. I simply saved screenshots. Because I knew exactly what was happening. This wasn't about a house. It wasn't even about money. It was about losing access to the person who had carried them. The one who cooked. The one who cleaned. The one who paid taxes. The one who fixed broken pipes. The one who absorbed criticism and kept smiling. That version of me was gone. A lawyer called again. This time they wanted mediation. They'd like to settle things peacefully, he said. I asked a simple question. Will there be apologies, reimbursement, accountability? Silence. I thanked him and ended the conversation. That evening, my brother posted a lengthy statement online accusing me of mistreating the family. It backfired immediately. People recognized the pattern, especially after learning where the story began. An ICU bed. What nobody understood was how much I had changed. Leaving the hospital didn't just heal me. It woke me up. For 6 years I paid expenses they never knew existed. For 6 years I maintained that house. Roof repairs, electrical upgrades, insurance costs, mortgage payments, all while they spent freely and took credit for a lifestyle I funded. The house itself never mattered. Peace did, but lying in that hospital room forced me to face reality. To them, I wasn't family. I was a resource, a utility, a backup plan. So I disappeared, quietly. The buyers turned out to be a wonderful retired couple. They paid cash. The transaction closed smoothly. Within days, ownership officially changed hands. Legally, everything was airtight. My relatives simply never bothered reading the documents they signed years earlier. Their carelessness became their downfall. A few days later, my mother sent one final message. You've humiliated this family. Not an apology, not concern, just anger over losing control. I never replied. Instead, I sent a message to the new owners. Welcome home. Then I blocked every number connected to my past. The new owners acted quickly. Locks changed. Garage codes reset. Access revoked. Everything updated. One afternoon, I watched from a distance as my parents arrived. My father tried his key. Nothing. My mother stared at the moving truck parked outside. Confusion turned into panic. Eventually, an older woman answered the door. She listened politely as my parents insisted there had been some mistake. Then she smiled. We purchased this house from Natalie. The look on their faces was unforgettable. For the first time, they understood. The person they had taken for granted wasn't protecting them anymore. I drove away before they noticed me. Because I knew there was still one final chapter left. They cycled through every tactic. Threats, guilt, manipulation, promises. Nothing worked. I'd heard those scripts my entire life. As a child, as a teenager, as an adult paying everyone else's bills. The only difference now was that I no longer listened. Eventually they showed up at my apartment building. Twice. The manager warned them to leave. After that, the visits stopped. Then came the consequences they never expected. Years earlier, they'd used my credit cards for vacations and expenses. I kept every statement, every receipt, every transaction, every record. Before leaving, I had quietly met with a tax attorney. A very thorough one, the kind who pays attention to details. Some of those details raised serious questions. Soon official notices were sent out. And not long afterward, investigations began. Accounts became restricted. Financial problems surfaced. Obligations they had ignored suddenly demanded attention. Everything started unraveling. Their memberships disappeared. Payments failed. Services were disconnected. The image they'd spent years protecting began cracking apart. Meanwhile, I was thousands of miles away, standing barefoot on a beach in Santorini, watching my son collect seashells near the water, feeling sunlight on my face. Not because wealth solved everything, but because I had finally stopped sacrificing myself for people who never appreciated it. For years they expected obedience, support, money, endless patience. I gave them exactly what they expected. Until I didn't. The house was gone. The performance was over. The version of me that accepted being used never left the hospital. The woman who walked out was different. She chose herself. No dramatic confrontations. No revenge speeches. No public battles. Just careful decisions made one step at a time. One evening, an old email address received a final message. An apology. Excuses. Regret. I deleted it without reading. Then I looked at my son. And for the first time in a very long time, I smiled. Because freedom wasn't the conclusion of my story. It was where the real story finally began.